This is The Scoop for Monday.
Good morning. I'm Josh Holton with the WMNF News headlines. There's a new effort to set term limits for U.S. Supreme Court justices. Former congressional candidate Alan Cohn is with the group Term Limit the Court and spoke on Friday on WMNF's The Skinny.
What we're seeing on the Supreme Court is not just differences of opinion in terms of the law, and it's not just errors in terms of public disclosures that many politicians inadvertently make. We have Supreme Court justices who lied in their nomination hearings, and we have Supreme Court justices who, because there are no guardrails, no term limits, think that they could do whatever they want, including taking luxury vacations from billionaires, taking sweetheart land deals. People are angry. The other thing is that if you look at presidential elections since the mid-1970s, Democrats have won the popular vote 11 times to, I believe, 7 times for the Republicans. But Republican presidents have nominated far more Supreme Court justices, and it has led to the imbalance that we see now, where what is coming out of the court is not aligned with how Americans have voted for many years, and now we have rights that had been in place for over 50 years taken away from women, and many other decisions that are not in line with American public opinion, and so there are members of Congress like Hank Johnson from Georgia, Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler, who have just filed a bill in the House, and there's going to be a version of it in the U.S. Senate to limit Supreme Court justices to 18 years, and it guarantees every president at least 2 Supreme Court picks, and over time, that will bring more balance to the court. And, it's also important to remember that the University of Chicago Law School recently did a study showing that if we do not change how Supreme Court justices are picked, it will be 44 years until the balance of the court changes.
That's former congressional candidate Alan Cohn with the group Term Limit the Court speaking Friday on WMNF's The Skinny. You can hear the full interview on our website, WMNF.org. The Guardian reports a close ally of Florida Governor and Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, conservative activist Christopher Rufo, hosted a social media debate. One participant argued that conservatives should cooperate with a hypothetical white nationalist dictator, quote, in order to destroy the power of the left, unquote. Rufo did not disagree, and instead he commended speakers for their thoughtful points. Rufo has mobilized conservatives against communities of color, first with a distorted version of critical race theory, then by misrepresenting diversity and inclusion education practices to pedophilic grooming. DeSantis appointed Rufo to the board of trustees of Florida's new college in January. Rufo hosted the debate on X, the social media network formerly known as Twitter. Participating in the debate was Charles Haywood, a former shampoo magnate who founded a secretive men-only fraternal society, the Society for American Civic Renewal. The debate concerned Haywood's promotion of a strategy he calls no enemies to the right, which urges people on the right to avoid any public criticism of others in their camp, including extremists. Haywood raised the hypothetical possibility, saying, quote, let's say a real white nationalist arose who had real political power and therefore be of assistance against the left, unquote. Haywood suggested, quote, I think the answer is that you should cooperate with that person in order to destroy the power of the left, unquote. Rufo then told listeners, quote, I think there is room for engaging the dissident on the right and the establishment right. I think we need to have a bridge between the two and engage in thoughtful dialogue, unquote. Heidi Byrick, an extremism expert who co-founded the Global Project on Hate and Extremism, called the discussion and its framing, quote, a disaster in an email saying, quote, by engaging true extremists, white supremacists, and authoritarians, Haywood's vision will sanction and empower those movements, unquote. Byrick also wrote, quote, conservative cowardice on white supremacy is the road to losing a democracy and possibly much worse in terms of hate-driven political violence and autocracy, unquote. She compared the no enemies to the right doctrine to a situation in, quote, Germany in the 1930s when conservatives worked with Hitler, seeing him as less of a problem than communists, unquote. Florida Politics reports about a year after Kent Sturman committed suicide last December, Northeast Florida officials are offering insight into what led up to the incident in which a man once named Citizen of the Year by Jacksonville Sheriff's Office took his own life amid controversy that got global attention. Sturman was 50 years old and played a major role in the political rise of Ron DeSantis to the governorship and was under investigation from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office when he took his own life last year. A report from the state attorney, Melissa Nelson, said that Sturman attempted to seduce a young woman with the promise of backstage passes for Taylor Swift if she would show her breasts to him, to perform certain acts for money, and to send him photos of her breasts through a bizarre and fraudulent scheme in which he pretended to be a security staffer for the tour. When she showed up at his office, he gave her $1,500 and offered her more money, including $10,000 for a lap dance and $5,000 for FaceTime sex. The victim refused those solicitations and was pressured further. It's a sign how close he was to DeSantis. Sturman served on the Board of Governors as a member of Florida State University system, on the Florida Highway Patrol Advisory Council, and was chair to the governor's Public Safety Transition Advisory Committee. Sturman rented a home to DeSantis while he was in Congress and helped build a bridge with DeSantis and the Northeast Florida establishment in both fundraising and endorsements. For the weather, it's slightly cool and fair in the Tampa Bay area. Highs today in the upper 80s, overnight lows around 70. Mostly sunny week ahead. I'm Josh Holton with the WMNF News headlines on 88.5 FM and the WMNF app.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.